Time for batteries.
I think the batteries finally gave in. Yep. Oh, that's sad. It's just a little teeny. That's terrible. I need new batteries for my Tribble. Problems Kirk never had. Obviously. Actually, it's got a little weight to it. If those had fallen out of that thing, remember the trouble of Tribbles and anyway. I think the Tribbles were more like these because there's nothing in this, and you could throw this at full speed at somebody's face, and they would never really find that to be objectionable. Anyway, right before the program started, someone tweeted, Chris Williams tweeted, "Story time with Grandpa Jimmy," and I would have forgotten again. I intended to get back to this. I would have forgotten. So I'm thankful for. I have a few things on my mind at the moment, so I am thankful for the reminder. And if you recall, on Story Time with Grandpa Jimmy, we had started the Gospel of Thomas, and we had gotten through the first 40 verses of the Gospel of Thomas, and then I don't know what happened. Maybe went out of town. Who knows? And the brain stopped working, and I forgot to finish up the Gospel of Thomas. I'm not sure I'm going to do the whole thing today because it's fairly lengthy. But we have been reading some of the Gnostic Gospels on the program just so that people have a familiarity with them. It's the weight that these have in silencing Christians and things like that is primarily inversely proportional to a person's knowledge of these documents. So in other words, the more you know about them, the more you can recognize that they really don't have anything to do with Jesus and the apostles, with the time frame of the apostolic period, and they come from a different worldview, and once you understand that, then it's like, why is everybody so up in arms about these things? But the less you know about them, then the weightier they become. And so you may recall we had read a couple of the more, the Proto-Evangelium of James and the Infancy Gospel of Thomas. We read through these, because you keep hearing them all the time. You hear these things being cited and all the rest of this stuff. And the Gospel of Thomas is much longer than the others. And so we only read, as I recall, the first 40 verses of the Gospel of Thomas. What are you doing out there?
I need to open your door so there's a little breeze through here. It's getting a little warm, It's supposed to be 98 on Friday.
It's supposed to be 100 tomorrow, Wednesday. What are you talking about?
It's warming up out here. I'm just looking for a little airflow, that's all.
Oh, okay. Well, I had set it, I can control my stuff here from my phone. It's set at 72. Is it?
Yeah,
but you're normally complaining.
Your door was closed, and your office sucks air through where I'm sitting, and so you're just clogging things up, man.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, back to Story Time with Uncle Jimmy and the Gospel of Thomas, which is 114 verses long. We read the first 40. Verse 40 says, Jesus said, "A grapevine has been planted outside of the Father, but being unsound, it will be pulled up by its roots and destroyed." Jesus said, "Whoever has something in his hand will receive more, and whoever has nothing will be deprived of even the little he has." By the way, some of these you can sort of, what? You have a phone in your hand? Can you get more? Oh, whoever has something in his hand will receive more. Okay. The stuff I have to put up with, folks. Y'all would be shocked at the... Anyway. Obviously, many of these do reflect a knowledge of the biblical Gospels. obviously, there's a huge amount of discussion about how much the authors, well, this is a collection of sayings, not a one particular author, but which Gospels they knew, all that kind of stuff. But then you have this Gnostic spin, that appears in all of this. So, for example, verse 42, Jesus said, "Become passers-by." That's it. It's not supposed to have a context, and it's not supposed to be one of those things where you actually can really figure out what in the world it's about. The Gnostics weren't concerned about exegesis or the communication of a particular worldview, understanding, that kind of stuff. It's meant to be somewhat, it's meant to be theological Play-Doh that you can then form into whatever you wish. That's sort of what that's all about. 43. His disciples said to him, "Who are you that you should say these things to us?" Jesus said to them, "You do not realize who I am from and what I say to you, but you have become like the Jews, for they either love the trees and hate its fruit, or love the fruit and hate the tree." Jesus said, "Whoever blasphemes against the Father will be forgiven, and whoever blasphemes against the Son will be forgiven, but whoever blasphemes against the Holy Spirit will not be forgiven, either on earth or in heaven." Now that is pretty much straightforward, straight up out of the canonical Gospels. That's the subject of the unpardonable sin. Now, how the proto-Gnostics understood that, good question, but that's clearly dependent upon the canonical Gospels. The Gospel of Thomas should never be seen as being concurrent with, but secondary to, the canonical Gospels, including the Gospel of John. Jesus said, "Grapes are not harvested from thorns, nor are figs gathered from thistles, for they do not produce fruit. A good man brings good from his storehouse, and an evil man brings forth evil things from his evil storehouse, which is in his heart, and says evil things. For out of the abundance of the heart he brings forth evil things." Again, slightly changed, but pretty much straight from the canonical Gospels. Jesus said, "Among those born of women, from Adam until John the Baptist, there is no one superior to John the Baptist, and his eyes should not be lowered before him. Yet I have said, whichever one of you comes to be a child will be acquainted with the kingdom and will become superior to John." Verse 47, Jesus said, "It is impossible for a man to mount two horses or to